The Cancelator won't stop until it gets what it wants.
Put on this black face and take a selfie.
No!
Yes.
Who's that?
It's a T-1000. A more advanced cancelator.
Shouldn't it be called a C-1000 then?
Shut up. What are you doing here?
You took too long. I'm going to end this.
What are you going to do? Are you going to morph into her? And then make a recording of her saying racist things?
No, I'm going to type, okay, and it's sent, and we're done. This is great. Skynet's gonna be so jazzed.
So I didn't need to buy the blackface?
The Cancelator.
I would totally watch that because it's pretty on the nose, which is kind of scary, as of course even the CIA realized that character assassination is better than regular assassination. Welcome back, beautiful and amazing human beings. My name's Luke Rudowski here of wearechange.org, and there's a lot of absolutely crazy and wild news to get into today, as of course we have some massive bombshells from the BRICS meetings that just happened in South Africa, as of course Tucker Carlson has just launched a major bombshell on the American people, talking about a Gulf of Tonkin-like incident that will change everything within the next year. We're going to be talking about that, plus a lot more, all here on this independent media broadcast. If you like this high IQ t-shirt that I have on right now, you can get it on thebestpoliticalshirts.com. And the clip that we played in the beginning of this broadcast was made by the extremely talented Lou Perez. We, of course, will be linking his YouTube channel down in the description below, and his latest movie trailer for a fake satirical movie called The Cancelator is absolutely freaking hilarious. If you love the first Terminator, you would probably love the modern version of it, as depicted by a group called Fight the Power Production that made this nearly 5-minute satirical trailer that is absolutely worth watching. We, of course, will be linking the full trailer down in the description below so you could watch it in its entirety after watching this video, because it is absolutely brilliant and hilarious. We definitely need more comedy now, as the people of this country keep facing more and more difficult times, not just because of political or financial concerns, but also natural disasters that are currently hitting the state of Florida, that is currently going through another hurricane. This as the current governor of Florida, Ron DeSantis, has taken time off from campaigning. As the former president of the United States, pollsters are coming out and saying that Nikki Haley and Vivek Ramaswamy are the, quote, rising threats against Donald Trump in the Republican primary, as allegedly Ron DeSantis has had a, quote, dead cat bounce from the debate performance. As the former president of the United States also directly talked about the possibility of having Vivek Ramaswamy as his vice presidential pick for his potential Republican GOP nomination, which of course we know that a lot of very powerful people in the establishment are doing everything they can in order to stop. As Donald Trump called Vivek, quote, very, very, very intelligent, a person with good energy, while speaking to Glenn Beck, but warned that he's getting a bit, quote, controversial. This as the Democratic nominee is looking more tired and disheveled than ever, as there's a new book that is talking about how he is allegedly admitting to his aides that he's, quote, feeling tired more and more. This as he keeps publicly falling over, sleeping, slurring his words, and barely making any sense with the words coming out of his mouth, as a new poll shows that 77% of Americans, including the majority of Democrats, think that Joe Biden is too old for another term as president of the United States. And yeah, absolutely. This as Tucker Carlson has his own theory about how the establishment will keep its authority that we're going to be talking about in just a little bit. But before we do, we wanted to give you an update on Jaden, the young child who was expelled from his school for wearing a Gadsden flag patch on his book bag, as just moments ago the Colorado School Board voted to allow him to have free speech, as of course teachers there were able to represent their radical leftist ideas without any kind of consequences or problems, as Jaden, a child, was literally kicked out of school for his political expression. This, as we just had a major victory for the First Amendment, and highlighting how just absolutely absurd, radicalized, and insane a lot of public schools are that are really indoctrination centers. And this is why we also wanted to highlight many of our Gadsden flag-like shirts in order to celebrate this moment. We, of course, have one that says "No Step on Dog" with our co-host, official co-host, Atlas, who is always in the background of my videos, who just was awoken a little bit there because I said her name, as, of course, we are going to be going for a walk right after this. We also have a shirt that I'm wearing right now highlighting how we don't want people shedding on us. Those shirts available on thebestpoliticalshirts.com, along with some of our other great products like Essential Fatty, our own line of omega-3 essential fatty oils. As of course, we have a new tagline that says, "Don't be a lazy fatty, be an essential fatty," as this is a product that I personally take, that I personally use, and has helped me in my own health journey. I always recommend people get their blood drawn, get a doctor to take a look at it, see what you're deficient in, see what they recommend for you to take, especially when it comes to supplements. Always talk to your medical professional, make sure you're making the right decision for yourself. I was recommended fish oils, I started taking them, and I feel a lot better because I do. You might feel a lot better too, and that's why you should check out essentialfatty.com, our own line of supplements, which of course helped me. I think it could help you as we are growing and expanding our businesses to support, help build, and grow people's individual health journeys. With just how poisoned our food and water supply is, taking care of your health is more important than ever. Begin that health journey right now on wearechange.shop. And I will see you there right after this broadcast. As of course, we also are going to be giving away tickets on lukeunfiltered.com and have a special broadcast available to you right after this broadcast. All available down in the description below. As we, of course, move to our main topic of discussion, and that is the very bombastic comment being made by Tucker Carlson that is exposing a lot of current American foreign policy that is absolutely bewildering, to say the least. This, as currently the United States is involved in a major proxy war between the East and the West, which it represents, as of course Western nations, as Tucker Carlson points out, aren't really the best allies to each other, especially with the latest move that the United States made against the Nord Stream pipeline, which, according to Tucker Carlson, clearly there is some responsibility from the United States here with these comments that he said in Hungary recently.
Is collapsing. NATO is going to collapse, obviously. You can't have the driver of NATO, which is the United States, sabotage Germany's main source of cheap energy in Nord Stream. The Biden administration blew up Nord Stream. And the Germans are so self-hating, they won't say anything about it. They sort of put their head down like, no, I don't want to talk about that. Okay. But I do want to talk about it because it's important. First of all, it was the biggest act of industrial sabotage in history. Second, it was the largest man-made CO2 emission in history, which if you're a global warming cultist is like the devil himself come to earth, and the Biden administration did that. But third and most important, it was an attack on Germany, which is the most powerful country in Europe. Western Europe is America's last main ally, and we just attacked our most important ally. NATO cannot stand long term. At some point, the Germans are going to wake up and be like, wait a second, we had chemical plants 2 years ago, now we don't. You just wrecked our economy. I don't think it can continue after that. I really don't. Maybe I'm wrong.
And he brings up a good point, especially with Germany shutting down their nuclear reactors, especially with a major energy shortage, with a potential dark winter approaching. We are seeing the annihilation of our Western allies that we're supposed to be working with, but we're also secretly sabotaging at the same time, as of course it's pretty clear that it was Western forces, Western powers, with the approval of the United States that blew up the Nord Stream pipeline, as of course the alliances between the BRICS nations is becoming more formidable by the day, as of course a lot of people expected the BRICS summit to end recently with a new global currency. This of course did not happen. There's a lot of different statements. There's a lot of different commentary specifically about this issue, as Indian government officials, a part of the BRICS summit, talked about how de-dollarization is still a long way, as of course we are going through a major economic war that could change at any moment, at any time, especially when and not if the BRICS nations come together and decide to, of course, launch their own currency outside of the US petrodollar, which would annihilate the current world order and financial system that we are all a part of. Now, this BRICS meeting was very important, as of course there was also plans set up by Brazil, China, Russia, and India to bring in Iran and Saudi Arabia, which would be a major deal breaker, as of course the US petrodollar is predominantly hinged on Saudi Middle Eastern relations. And once you cut that off, you have a very desperate problem for the US petrodollars, whose ability to survive will be put in question, as of course China has made many very interesting strides between Iran and Saudi Arabia, essentially ending the larger proxy war that's happening right now in Yemen between these two countries, and have set up diplomatic talks that we haven't seen in a very long time, bringing the nations together, which is a major big deal that we were talking about here previously on this broadcast. This as China and India also just pulled their troops from disputed territories, highlighting more cooperation between these two ever-growing and expanding economic superpowers, especially when it comes to India's dominance, and especially in the tech sector, as CNN even talked about how this larger BRICS expansion is a, quote, big win for China that, of course, is energy dependent and will most likely be doing their best to have more of a sphere of influence inside of the Middle East. This as the BRICS nations are seen as a direct threat against the US petrodollar and a warning against US global hegemony, which of course puts us in a very interesting predicament that Tucker Carlson talked about in a very interesting way on the Adam Carolla show, literally pointing out the larger possibility of a Gulf of Tonkin-like incident, a false flag-like incident that the United States will do that will create a situation where there will be a hot war between the United States and Russia within the next year. And when you look at the threat against the BRICS nations, against the US petrodollar, against US hegemony, which of course is being questioned by all these countries coming together, historically speaking, when one world power is being questioned, prodded, and tested by a rising superpower, usually this leads to a insidious trap, which predominantly, overwhelmingly, leads to a larger conflict and war. Are we at this particular stage where this will happen soon? Well, with an upcoming very tumultuous presidential election, with the United States looking more divided than ever, whether it's the United States or other countries taking advantage of the United States being at odds with its own people, I think that Tucker Carlson's assessment and analysis here is right on the money, as of course this is what he had to say in his own words.
Or else they're going to indict you if they win, right?
Right.
And so they can't lose. They will do anything to win. So how do they do that? They're not going to do COVID again. I know everyone on the right's afraid they're going to do COVID and mask mandate. They're not going to do that. They can't do that. If they've already been exposed, that won't work. There's going to be, no, what are they going to do? They're going to go to war with Russia. Is what they're going to do. There will be a hot war between the United States and Russia in the next year. And
really?
Yes, of course. They want it anyway. I don't think we'll win it, but that's a separate analysis. But I think it's a political matter. They need to declare war footing in order to assume war powers in order to win. I believe that. And I think the evidence suggests that's true. So if you're worried about our politics getting like even more vicious than it already is, and people being hurt in our politics, which is entirely possible, you should be worried about the prospect of an open war. We're already at war with Russia, of course. We're funding their enemies. So we're fighting Russia. But I mean, an open battle with Russia where we say we're at war with Russia. I think that could easily happen. I think we could Tonkin Gulf our way into it, where all of a sudden missiles land in Poland. The Russians did it. Our NATO allies been attacked. We're going to war. I could see that happening very easily.
which of course also happened not so long ago with the Ukrainian government a couple months ago announcing that Russia has just launched missiles into Poland, which later came out to be, of course, Ukrainian missile defense systems that were the ones that actually landed in Poland. But the Ukrainians knew that, didn't want to wait, and used a very crazy situation to try to invoke a NATO clause, which would have essentially created a world war. And when you look at what's happening in Ukraine, especially with Western involvement, especially with U.S. government intervention to the point where they have prevented any kind of peace talks and peace deals from going forward, it looks like it does make sense analytically, looking at everything that's going on here, of what Tucker Carlson is foretelling will happen here, as of course the situation in Ukraine is already bad, and for it to turn worse it's very easy. It's very simple, and it could very quickly escalate to very dangerous proportions, which is not going to be good for everyone involved here. But hey, that's just my take. What do you think will be happening from here? Let me know down in the comment section below. I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for you guys and gals sharing this video, and because you do, that's why I love you guys. Stay tuned for more. I got one more video coming your way about some more spicy topics that we can't discuss here on LukeUnfiltered.com. See you there.